thank you guys so much for tuning in, and deepest thank yous for all the new listeners we have out there. Been getting a ton of hits on YouTube, on Facebook,
on Twitter.
What else we got going on?
We've got the website.
The website. We've been getting a lot of new hits. A lot of people promoting the page, promoting the podcast. Just want to let you guys know that we appreciate that tremendously. I think we can both say when we started this thing up 2 years ago that we didn't expect it even to reach this point, I don't think.
Oh, not at all. And now in this past week, we're up on iHeart.
Yeah, iHeart. We've actually got quite a few new places. We've got up on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify now. Where else we at?
We're on Deezer. We're on, of course, on iTunes, as we have been for a while. We're on Specker, which is kind of a podcast and play. Pretty much any podcast and app at this point, you can type in Midnight Kentucky. We're there.
We're up there.
Hit subscribe. Download the episodes. Give us a listen.
Do us a big favor and leave reviews and ratings. That helps us out so much. It pushes the podcast out to other people who are interested in this kind of thing. Gets these episodes out to people who may have had their own sightings, who can report it in to us on the email. Speaking of, if you have any of those sightings, please get with us at midnightinkentuckypodcast@gmail.com. Visit the webpage. And just thank you guys. We appreciate it. We got a lot of big things coming. Got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. And speaking of those good things, Ransom Letter Publishing, where you guys can find all our videos on YouTube. We have our next podcast in our podcast network coming out very, very soon. We're thinking about calling it Pushing Pieces Podcast. We'll be talking about some pop culture goings on, movies, comics, concerts, music, all of that stuff, while we play a nice game of chess, which you guys will get to watch the entire time. So keep checking back at the Ransom Letter YouTube for that.
A lot of good stuff in the future.
Welcome to Kentucky.
The birthplace of Abraham Lincoln and built on the largest cave system in the known world. The home of Daniel Boone, Hunter S. Thompson, horse racing, and bourbon.
But when the hour grows late, the Bluegrass state becomes the breeding ground for realms beyond those familiar to the human race. In the east, ghosts, spirits, and ethereal entities roam the hills and hollers.
In the north, Mothman beats his wings along the banks of the Ohio River.
To the west, small green creatures stalk farmhouses and disappear without a trace when shot.
While in the south, the energy of the Veiled Witch is palpable just over the border. Joining with us as we investigate just what goes wrong in the Bluegrass night.
And ask the question, how many coincidences are too many? There's no need to check the clock.
There's no need to check the clock. Time is an illusion.
Time is an illusion.
And it's midnight.
It's midnight. In Kentucky.
In Kentucky.
In Kentucky. In Kentucky. In Kentucky. In Kentucky. In Kentucky. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the midnight hour once again, and for Midnight Kentucky, I'm Ben.
I'm Steven.
We would like to send a huge thank you out to the Lake Cumberland Current, who published their debut issue this week, in which they allowed me to get way weird and talk about some craziness that's went down in Kentucky. If you live in Russell County or the surrounding areas, be sure to check that out. Not only are they, letting us talk about our paranormal and supernatural side of Kentucky, but they are doing some great work in all the other areas. So be sure to check them out, get a subscription. And if nothing else, check out the article, because I go pretty in depth with some stuff in Kentucky. The second part of that article will be out in 2 weeks, maybe out by the time you guys hear this. So be sure to check into that. We talk about a lot of the things that we're going to talk about on this episode tonight. I talked about the fireballs. I talked about Captain William Mantell. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Lake Cumberland Current debut issue. And thank you guys for letting us do it. So tonight we are taking a look at something we have tried unsuccessfully to take a look at for 3 recording sessions now. This is the 3rd time we've attempted to record this thing.
That's correct. Every time we have tried to record this, we've encountered either some type of mechanical problems with a vehicle of a family member, or we...
First time it was Steven's son, second time it was my wife. What happened the 3rd time?
Third time, the audio feed got corrupted after we saved it.
Yeah, went out.
Yeah, so this is actually the 4th attempt.
Jeez, this is the 4th attempt. So if you're hearing this, we've broken the curse, the synchronicities are gone, and we finally got this out to you. But tonight we are talking about a flap of UFO sightings seen over Kentucky over the past summer. It actually started, or the events that we're going to talk about tonight started in early June and went all the way until...
All the way up until this September, this past month.
September. So his sighting actually was in September.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So, pretty much spanned the entire summer, these sightings. Something in our skies over the Bluegrass all summer, it seems like. But first, before we do that, we're going to touch really quickly on an investigation we did a couple episodes ago, which ties in with all of this. And that, of course, is the James Bunch. The James Bunch experience that he had in Russell County as a deputy sheriff, in which he saw a massive UFO over a person's house in the early morning. Tell us a little bit about what we have learned since we recorded that episode.
Yeah, well, since we learned that, episode, it seems like, we kind of looked around for locations maybe where this occurred at.
Right. Yeah, we thought we had an idea of where this event had happened.
Yeah, we had a pretty good idea of where the event happened. One thing that we began looking into is we're going to start looking into maybe, because when this call come in from the truck driver and he seen like the field on fire,
right.
The dispatch went out to James, and he was the only deputy that was on duty that night. So there's records of dispatch records. We can't really figure out the exact date or anything of that. So one thing we've been looking into is doing a possible Freedom of Information Act request to get the call to come in, the dispatch call,
yeah,
the exact verbiage from the truck driver, the transcript, the call of the location that the deputy James Bunch drove out to.
Sure.
And look into, so we're hoping to maybe look into that. I know there's some regulations on record retention and things like that. So, but that's kind of in the preliminary stages.
Right.
So if we do get that, we will share that with you all.
Oh yeah.
And kind of do some more follow up on this.
Yeah. Hopefully that Freedom of Information Act request will we'll get us some more information about the case at least, and that could, if anything, knowing that truck driver made that call in to dispatch could at least corroborate the fact that something happened that evening.
Right.
We don't know if it was a UFO. We don't know exactly, other than James's testimony, that could at least confirm that something had happened. There was a 911 call that did take place, which would be a big step in confirming that these events happened. So.
Right, and I think that would be kind of like the very much evidence that we need to say this actually took place.
Right, something happened here.
Yeah, but in fact, I'm curious about the story because it's so intriguing. It's a good story. Especially about him going and talking to the gentleman the next day.
Sure.
And his comments on that.
Oh, yeah.
That's intriguing to me because I'm like,
this man's just lived with it.
Just lived with this, and a lot of people who are abducted at that point do have reoccurring encounters.
Sure. And they give up to the point, they have lived with it for so long that they give up to the point where they just accept, like this guy told James supposedly, there's nothing you can do about it. Not the first time, won't be the last time.
Right.
And like I was saying, James, if you're listening, if anybody's listening that knows James, we would love to speak with you firsthand. Reach out to us. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, midnightkentuckypodcast@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter. We're not hard to find. Reach out to us. We would love to talk to you on air or off air. Yeah. We don't have to record it. We just like to hear the story.
We just like to talk to you offline.
Sure. And, we are not going to tear your story apart. We just want to hear things from your point of view and find out, what happened here. Because if this story is legit, if this is a legitimate story, this story, to me, goes down with the Stanford abductions, Travis Walton's abduction, the Mothman. This story is so, it features such prominent detail. It's such a close encounter.
Yes.
That it's a pretty big deal. And, I understand being afraid. I understand of not wanting to talk about something. Or maybe not even being afraid, but being reluctant to talk about something because of what people might think of you or how they might ridicule you. But this is a major break. I mean, if this story were legitimate, it would be a major story to all ufologists.
Exactly.
So, we'd like to talk to you about it.
Yeah. And even if he would, I know he documented it when he called in the podcast, but if he would document it, like physically document it, and maybe he has, but that would do a lot for the research for the entire community.
Completely. Totally. And I mean, especially for researchers in Kentucky who are researching things that happen within our state, that would go a long way to clarify a lot of things.
And it would also coincide with other events, such as the Stanford abduction,
totally.
Kelly, Kentucky.
And a lot of things we're going to be talking about tonight. I mean,
right.
Which it's exactly like we talked about on the last episode. The things that James mentions have happened to other people in Kentucky. It's not something that hasn't happened before. It's things that have been reported, maybe not frequently, but more than once. Several times more than once. So, I mean, the story itself makes sense in a lot of ways. But, again, we would love to talk with you. And we'd love to find out what's going on. And if you would like to reach out to us, if anybody involved with that sighting would like to speak with us, reach out to us. We're still in the process of gaining information. Anything that we learn, we will report right back to you guys. I mean, you'll hear it here first. So it's an ongoing investigation, to say the least.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we're going to do something a little bit different. We know that you guys know that we are into local music and are into supporting our artists in the area. We've had a lot of different artists on in the past, which were basically reiterations of Steven or myself. Of course, we've had the legendary Truck Stop Dave, who did our
intro and outro,
did our intro and outro. We've had B. Silas, we've had Culture Trap, and we'd like to offer any local musician who would like their music played on the podcast, just hit us up, send us a link. We'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. Anybody's got any music they'd like to share with us, we'll put it in as our buffer music.
Be it hip hop, metal, rock, whatever you got, we want to hear it. We want to use it. So get with us. And in the spirit of that, tonight we are going to give you guys I like to think of it as how you would buy comic books back in the day, and you would see a special at the back of this issue. So the special in the back of this episode is we are going to play Culture Trap. We're going to play our 3-track EP in the breaks of this episode. It has yet to be released. It was supposed to be released back in July. Life got crazy. Some things happened. We didn't get to put it out. So we're going to give you guys a very special sneak peek tonight. So without further ado, this is the first track off the new Culture Trap EP. This song's called So They Tell Me. Thank you guys so much. We'll be right back.
Cause maybe I would have not become the man that I became. did a damn thing of me, no. I never listened when I was told no, so I had to try. Now I've tried everything, and that's the story of my life. So they tell me, so they tell me. I never listened to a word I was told. I never did a damn thing of me, no. I never listened when I was told no, so I had to try. Now I've tried everything, and that's the story of my life. It's only tell me.
Welcome back to Midnight Kentucky. The first sighting that we're going to talk about tonight is a sighting that occurred on June 7th of this year. This sighting occurred over the Cumberland Parkway. What all does the Cumberland Parkway cut through?
The Cumberland Parkway begins on pretty much on the Warren-Barron County line on the western end of it.
Okay.
Interchanges with I-65, and then it goes all the way through the towns of Glasgow, Edmonton, Columbia, Russell Springs, and then it ends in Somerset.
Okay, so it actually ends in Somerset.
Yeah.
Okay.
The eastern end ends on the Somerset side.
Okay, cool. So this sighting is from Mr. Daniel Wilson. Daniel is a pretty prominent member of the community here in Russell Springs, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, yes. He runs a business in the county.
Sure, yeah.
He's also well known as delivering the weather.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And for years.
Yeah, yeah.
And
he now owns a personal weather thing.
Yeah, he runs his own weather site, to my knowledge, yeah.
So he has pretty good knowledge of the skies.
Yeah, and what is considered meteors are, asteroids or anything of that nature compared to aircraft or something in the sky. He would have knowledge of what he's looking at because he has a lot of experience, a lot of years of observing the skies.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But Daniel Wilson says this on his personal Facebook page. This was posted on the following day at June 8th, 2019. He says this. I affirm what I'm telling you to be factual. At approximately 11:18 p.m., coming back from Somerset on the Cumberland Parkway in the construction zone, I noticed that the clouds started to become illuminated really bright just to the right and below the top of my windshield. I was traveling 55 miles per hour and came almost to a standstill watching the clouds. Then there was a yellow-greenish light that protruded through the clouds for just a moment. Then it went behind the clouds and vanished. I used an app on my phone to check the location of the moon, and it was right at the horizon, nowhere near this strange light. The light appeared to be oblong in shape and was very bright. Did anyone else happen to see this mysterious light in the sky? This is an actual picture someone else seen as well. The clouds were illuminated around it. And then it goes on. Daniel is also very fluent in the Spanish language. So that post ends with reporting the same thing in Spanish. From his Storm Alert Center page, which Daniel runs, and I think that is also the name of his weather watching.
It is,
Storm
yes.
Alert. So the Storm Alert Center page posted this on the same day. Strange light observed last night. I posted last night on my personal page. Or I'm sorry, that last one was posted the night of the actual sighting. This is posted the following day on the Storm Alert Center. Strange light observed last night. I posted last night on my personal page about a strange light I seen coming home on the Cumberland Parkway at 11:18 p.m. Someone else sent me this picture of the light that they took, and it is exactly what I seen. I inserted a picture I posted last night I found only to describe it. Although the moon is in crescent stage, it is never seen at that hour. Ever. Plus, it was cloudy and foggy. Anyone else have any ideas what this may be? And following this post is the photo of that the other person had taken of this craft. Not Daniel, but the other person that was in touch with Daniel had actually taken a photo of the same craft that Daniel had saw. So what it seems like Daniel's saying here is on the evening of June the 7th, Friday at 11:18 p.m., he's traveling down the Cumberland Parkway and spots this reddish-orange object, right? Is that the description? Yellow-green, I'm sorry. Was it yellow-green? Yellowish-green, yeah. So what he seems to be saying here is on the evening of June 7th, at around 11:18 p.m., he's traveling down the Cumberland Parkway, and he sights this yellowish-greenish light. He pulls out his phone, he runs an app, and can't find anything in the area that would attribute to it. There's photos of this. We'll include the photos in the show notes so you guys can check it out. But what's your take on this sighting?
Well, there's a couple of things with this side. One is, he says a construction zone.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back from Somerset. Well, at this time, there was only one construction zone
right
on the parkway in that area.
That's a very good point.
And that is on the 910 First Bridge,
mm-hmm.
Right as you leave Pulaski County and coming into Russell County.
About 10 minutes from my house.
About 10 minutes from Wheeling.
Maybe 5.
On top of that, which is kind of astonishing to me, is this is the area where we think the previous case we were just talking about with James Bunch spotted the UFO over the house is the same area where we are assuming this happened, and we would like James to confirm that.
Yes, and that's another, if James or anybody else involved with that case is listening, a lot of the reason that we would like to speak with you is to confirm that the area that we think it may have happened at, that we're 85% sure where you're talking about is where you are actually talking about in the case. And I'll be straight up with you, man. I hadn't put together that would have been the only construction area and that these two sightings are almost in the same exact spot.
Exactly. That's a strange synchronicity.
Right.
And think about what Daniel does here is he checks the app, and see if there's like aircraft or satellites or anything in that area at that time.
Sure.
And there's not. And, and he posted. And other people, if you look, other people are saying in the comments they have seen it.
Right.
And the link for this is also, we have it up on our page in the Earth News archive. If you just do a search for that date.
Don't we? Awesome. Yeah.
In June, it's there, and you can go look at it yourself if you have a Facebook account.
Yeah. See the original post about it.
Yeah.
Totally.
If you don't have a Facebook account, you click on it, it's going to like saying, you need to log in and all that stuff. But most people have Facebook accounts.
Oh, yeah. Facebook will get you anyway.
It'll get you. It got me.
It'll get you anyway.
But I think this is interesting. The photo, isn't the best photo, but what are you going to do when you go down the parkway that quick?
About a standard UFO photo. And actually, this photo, from what my understanding is, this photo was sent to Daniel by somebody else who saw it. This wasn't taken by Daniel himself.
Because in the comments, there's actually someone who posted, and he put the picture there.
Oh, awesome. I hadn't even read the comments. Is there anything in the comments that's worth noting?
There was just people saying they think they've seen it. The picture, of course, Daniel posted in the comments. Right. And a lot of people go on and saying they've seen things in the sky also at different times.
Sure.
I think it's definitely something there.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. So what's your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts... Well, I'll tell you what. We'll go on to the next case and we'll loop these in together. Because I think with this next event, I can kind of paint a better picture of my thoughts on this whole thing.
Yeah.
So the following evening, following Daniel Wilson's sighting, Stephen and I began to receive reports that over the scanner, which, is a police scanner, over the police scanner, several different people with these scanners in their homes heard that there was a red-orange fireball over Russell County and that police were in pursuit of this fireball. Since then, and this is completely uncorroborated, we couldn't find anything on the scanner, we couldn't find anything in the news about it, but this was reported to us by at least two separate people. So, and again, this is the day following Daniel Wilson's sighting of this object. But what we have here, it seems, is Daniel on Friday evening sees his craft over the Cumberland Parkway. And the following evening, we have reports over the police scanner of police giving chase to a red-orange fireball over Russell County. That's some pretty intense stuff.
That is, yeah.
And again, we have no corroboration of this. We can't find the recording. Is there something we could talk to dispatch about? Could we get reports like that from dispatch?
I think that would fall under that Freedom of Information Act request.
Awesome. That may be something to... Because I would... as much as I want to learn about this James Bunch thing, the fact that these Russell County police officers gave chase to a UFO on a Saturday night, that's some pretty interesting stuff.
Yes.
But to draw the lines here, this red-orange craft that these police gave chase to, I know that Daniel said it was yellowish-green in his case, but very similar, very, very similar to the reports other than the color. These craft have been seen over Kentucky, pretty much throughout time. The Stanford abductions that we were just talking about, before they saw the saucer that followed them and finally took them aboard, in the distance, it was a red-orange fireball.
Yeah.
Captain
Thomas Mantell,
the famous case out of, refresh my memory, where did that take place?
Franklin, Kentucky,
which many consider to be one of the first casualties of a UFO.
Right.
Mantell gave chase to this UFO, and depending on who you talk to, either ran out of oxygen or was shot down by the craft. And he describes it the same way, red-orange fireball. As a matter of fact, one of the craziest things about Mantell's is right before his communication went dead and he dropped out of the sky, he said that he could see people in the thing.
I think he was quoted saying, "Oh my God, there's people in this thing."
That's it. Yeah, that's the quote.
We're going to do an episode in the future about this, more in depth.
That's worth a full episode.
But definitely Captain Thomas Mantell.
That quote is one of the most terrifying quotes I've ever heard.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And there's supposed to be like a cockpit recording of that, but that's since disappeared because
of
things like that just go away.
But Mantell saw this thing.
And people in the area of that day in Franklin, Kentucky and surrounding areas seen it also.
Yeah, very, very much so. It had been reported several times, in Franklin County. This red-orange fireball, these fireballs, these balls of light in general are not something that's new. And, to tie it all in, the James Bunch encounter, he describes it as a fire. The truck driver supposedly, when he called it in, said that it looked like the woods were on fire. Red-orange fireball. You know? These fireballs are not uncommon. And knowing that, so the witness there that took that photo was in those comments, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they were on either the Parkway or on maybe Highway 80 when they took the picture. Okay. Yeah.
So knowing that Daniel saw this thing and it was separately corroborated by another person who took the picture, that's some pretty overwhelming evidence for me.
Yeah. There's enough witnesses that night to say there was something there.
Right. So, the fireball chase is, honestly, even though it's the least evidence that we have, or the least, we have the least amount of substance and context on this case, or on this report of any of them on the episode tonight. But with that, it's also one of the most interesting on this episode. Yeah. I mean, this is... Again, like we said about the James Bunch thing, if this is factual, if these cops chased after this red-orange fireball, that's a pretty prominent piece of ufology there,
I would think so too, because for one, they gave chase. Did they have their lights on when they gave chase?
Sure.
Is there a dash camera video of this?
Right.
Of course, there's got to be dispatch communications through the radio.
Yeah.
People heard this on the scanner.
For sure.
So I would like to obtain some of this.
That. Let's see while we're checking into that. And of course, anything we hear about that, report back to you guys first. And if anybody listening, if you heard the scanner report on this, if you have any information about this, please get with us. We would love any other information we can get about it. So... but we'll move on. The next sighting that we are going to talk about tonight occurred on June the 13th, just what, a week after? A week
Yeah,
after those,
week after.
a week after Daniel's sightings. And I think it's pertinent to say that this sighting occurred in almost exactly the same area that Daniel had his sighting. Almost exactly the same area that James Bunch reported his incident. This is by a neighbor of mine. I'm going to leave her name out of it. She is very supportive of the podcast. You know who you are if you're listening. Thank you so much. Thank you for constantly supporting us. But she sent this to me on Facebook she sent this to me as soon as she saw it. But anyway, she says this. Just took the dogs out and it's so clear outside, so I was looking up and off to the right of the moon when what looked like a normal star, in quotation marks, was glowing and twinkling, and then boom, just disappeared like it was never there. And again, this lady lives within half a mile, probably closer, of the Cumberland Parkway, where Daniel Wilson had had his sighting less than a week before. So what do you make of this one?
Exact same area, exact same type of report. I mean, too many people are seeing these in this area for it to not be something.
Yeah. I mean, something is happening in the skies. And, you know, it kind of goes back to the whole, it could be many things. And it could be many things. It could be test aircraft from Fort Knox, from Fort Campbell, whatever. I don't think it is, though.
No, I don't either.
I think whatever's happening is something weird.
Yeah. I mean, we know it's not satellites. We know it's nothing of that nature because there's apps, there's documentation of when these things are going to be in orbit and flying in front of you.
Sure. And all of these people that reported this did the right thing. They reported their sighting immediately. They didn't sit on it.
To steal something from the Department of Homeland Security, if you see something, say something.
If you see something, say something. Say it to the right people.
yeah. Put it on social media. That's the best way to document it.
It really is. It really is.
You know, because that way it's out there. Other people will jump onto it and corroborate it.
Sure.
And maybe they even have something and maybe in a little skittish of sharing it. They'll attach their report to it.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, there's a body of evidence that we can go back on and research and say, hey, during this time frame each year, this starts happening.
Right.
Or every 5 years or every 7 years. Sure. We have a archive.
We have a consistent record of these sightings.
Right.
Right. And that really that helps a lot. But like you said, these things happening in this one location, all but this one place.
Right.
Very strange.
And, you know, going back to pre-social media days, there was the website I brought up several times called Topics.
Yeah. Huge help in this series until it was taken down.
It was taken down. Now, it wasn't the best because it was anonymous. There was a lot of bad personal smearing stuff on there.
Sure.
But you could do some searches if you use creative with how you do Google searches, and you could extract these type of sightings.
Right.
And once you started pulling them out of different communities, you'd realize several different communities would be reporting this exact same thing in the same time frame during a span of weeks.
Right. And not only these types of things, but the mutilations, like in Monroe County.
Exactly.
Different stuff. Missing animals.
Yeah. And this was before the Lexington News or Louisville News was getting these stories and broadcasting them. People would report them on there and just, mention them. And then they would be on there until they got taken down or something. But you still could search. And then you would be able to put together timelines.
Right.
And we even did that earlier in the podcast for the Monroe County.
When we were first getting started, we used Topics pretty consistently. Topics was a major source of... And of course, you got to be careful with that type of information. Like you said, it's anonymous. But it does give you a great idea of a chain of events. Right. Reported from first-hand witnesses.
Right. And even those witnesses were anonymous. You could still pull them from communities, topics. I mean, there was a way around it, but the common person didn't know how to disguise where they was coming from. Right. So it stamped on there. This person was from Jamestown. This person was from Columbia. This person was from Calvert City, Kentucky. Right. So you could say, okay, this person is legitimately posting from that area. It's not really a troll. But again, now the new thing of that is Facebook, Twitter.
Very much so.
Even some YouTube, but most usually it's Facebook and Twitter is the two sites that this information is coming from now.
Right. Very much so. And, immediately posting, like you said, I think is one of the best things you can do, because not only does that let, researchers like us and other researchers know that an event has happened, but it also lets other witnesses know that you may have seen, just like you said, that you may have seen the same thing they did. So, definitely a good call there. And all of these people that we talked about tonight did the right thing. They posted immediately. They came out with their sightings. They weren't afraid. Answers may never be had, but at least we know as much as we can about these sightings.
Right.
So, before we get into this next one, let's take a real quick break. This song is called Stoned from the new Culture Trap EP. Check out the Culture Trap Facebook for more information about that. Thank you guys for listening to Midnight Kentucky.
Driving around town, sunglasses pulled down, hoping they're dark enough to cover up my red eyes. Driving southbound with the windows rolled down, feeling like I'm burning out the light. Maybe tonight we can meet out back and burn another one. Just jump the track and go and do what we know we should have done so long ago. Maybe tonight we can meet out back and roll another one. We'll build our houses out of glass, sit back, watch them throw their stones. 'Cause we'll be stoned, we'll be stoned. Watching cartoons, hoping you'd come through, that you drift like smoke out of my mind. I know we got to pay our dues, but the truth costs more than all the lies combined. Maybe tonight we can meet out back and burn another one. Just jump the track and go and do what we know we should have done so long ago. Maybe tonight we can meet out back and roll another one. We'll build our houses out of glass, sit back, watch them throw their stones. 'Cause we'll be stoned, you will be stoned. And their houses start to shatter now, and they've nothing in them anyhow. So many drugs up in the cabinets, a whole life built of nasty habits. Who are you to say what's right for me? Maybe tonight we can meet out back and roll another one. And just jump the track and go and do what we know we should have done so long ago. Maybe tonight we can meet out back and burn another one. We'll build our houses out of glass, sit back, watch them throw their stones. 'Cause we'll be stoned, you will be stoned. So let's get stoned.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Midnight Kentucky. This sighting that we're going to discuss is one of the last couple of sightings we're going to discuss tonight. And this actually occurred on June 24th of this year, 2019. So that would have been, a couple weeks after the sightings that we were talking about a few minutes ago. Daniel Wilson and the fireball. And yeah, this was posted as soon as this sighting happened on Monday, June 24th at 9:13 p.m. Like we were saying, all of these witnesses did the best thing possible and reported their sightings immediately. This was reported to us by a listener and a past coworker of mine, and we thank you so much for doing that. If you guys listening see anything weird or odd that you want to tag us in, please feel free to do that. It helps us break stories like these. So this person, which I'm not going to mention any names on this one, but this person says this, and they are located in Somerset, Kentucky. Again, give us an idea of where Somerset lies on this whole.
Somerset, to me, Somerset is east of where we're at in Russell County.
Right.
It's in the Lake Cumberland region. Somerset, if you look at Kentucky, right before eastern Kentucky begins, Somerset's right on the edge. So Somerset's like the county before you enter into what I would call eastern Kentucky.
Sure.
Before you enter into Laurel County, and then you go over into the Hazard area,
Right.
and further into the coal country.
Right.
Somerset's kind of smack dab there. It's in Pulaski County.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the bigger counties in Kentucky as far as land mass goes.
In relation to the Cumberland Parkway, where is Somerset? I think you mentioned it before.
Somerset, the Cumberland Parkway travels pretty much the halfway through Pulaski County.
Mm-hmm.
The Cumberland Parkway ends in Pulaski County, but it, that's where the eastern end of the Cumberland Parkway. Yeah,
But Cumberland Parkway basically leads straight into Somerset.
it leads straight into Somerset. Yeah.
So this witness is from Somerset on Monday, the 24th at 9:13. He posts this: was sitting outside just now, and all of a sudden 5 or 6 things, in quotation marks, started brightly blinking in the sky around the same area, way up high. One went one direction quite quickly. The others kind of stayed in one place for quite a few seconds and then were gone again. Weird. My mom saw it too. Following the comments, he posts photos of these things, which we posted on our Facebook. I believe they're also on our website and Twitter, maybe?
They are, yes.
And we will repost those again in the show notes. But there are a lot of comments saying that people saw this same thing. The immediate comment down from the top is "Shooting stars everywhere tonight, love it," in which the witness responds and says, "Well, 4 of these never shot. They stayed in one general location, blinking for about 10 seconds and then were gone. The other one, also blinking, was with the others, then quickly shot across the sky. It was very odd." The next comment after those says, "My oldest used to see that too." Past that, another commenter says, "I won't talk about what I have seen. I'll just say seeing is believing." The next commenter says, "Lightning bugs, ? In which the original witness says, "They weren't that far up, don't blink that fast, don't go zooming quickly across the sky, and don't group up to hover in one place then vanish." The following person says, "You've been watching too much Twilight Zone, LOL." But then in the responses following says that they have seen the same thing. Another commenter says, "Seen something blinking yesterday as well, but thought my eyes were playing tricks on me because it was gone quick." And then the original witness posts the photos that he took, which he didn't seem to think were very good photos, but I assured him, in the world of ufology, that those photos he took are pretty phenomenal. But this is what we reported on that Tuesday following this event. So this happened. The event itself happened Monday evening at 9 p.m., close to 9 p.m. The following Tuesday, we posted this after doing some initial research. The witnesses of last night's UFO encounter over Somerset says this: "We were sitting out about dusky dawn watching the bats and stuff, and I was looking to see which planets were visible on my app Skyview Light. All of a sudden, to the east above and beyond our big pine tree, I saw 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 flashing or glittering lights in the sky, kind of bunched up together. At first, I thought maybe they were planes, because I saw another plane in the sky a little bit north of that. So I asked Siri what planes were in the sky within my area, and she only mentioned 2. All of a sudden, one of the glittering, blinking lights swiftly headed off toward the west and out of sight. The other 4 or 5 glittering or blinking lights just kind of hover around about 10 seconds and then were just gone. This quote comes from actually talking to the witness a little bit. He elaborated a little bit for us. But then the Midnight Kentucky roundup of this event goes on. The craft were also seen by the witness's 78-year-old mother, in addition to an independent witness reporting something similar during daylight hours of yesterday. Photos from the witness follow. Now, you've seen these photos. I think we've looked at these photos several times. What do you make of this? What do you make of these photos? These photos are very intriguing, I think.
Again, like with these other sightings, there was something there. But what they do remind me of is the sighting this past week in North Carolina.
Very much so.
Many of the lights there in one cluster,
Very
kind of.
much so.
But this was at night. These were during like the day almost,
Right.
like during.
And it does seem like there are some subtle differences. I'm with you on that, though. This encounter, like where was that this week?
That was the Outer Banks in North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah. This encounter, like the North Carolina sightings, really reminds me of the Phoenix lights.
That's exactly what it
The
reminded me of.
differences in this one, though, are the lights are more whitish.
Yeah.
And in North Carolina, the lights were more... North Carolina,
Orange,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, the lights were more orange. They were more saucer-shaped. These lights... And again, I'll include these photos on the show notes. These lights are more white and more orb-like. But in these photos, you can almost make out the underbelly of a craft that these lights are connected to.
If you actually dim and to play with the light filters on the pictures, you can actually tell there's an underbelly to these.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell if this is one craft or if this is many craft or if these are just orbs, you know. But what did you make of his sighting overall, given the location of it right there at the end of the Cumberland Parkway, given the date, same month as these other incidences?
Again, like all these are happening within, if you do a radius, they're all within a 25-mile radius
Easily.
of each other.
Easily.
All these sightings that we've discussed
Right.
So far tonight. So I'm wanting to say there's a good possibility it's all coming from the same source, although they do look a little different.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean they're not coming from the same source.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's they do have similarities though as well. I mean, it's all light-based objects. It's all orb or that type of.
And they all behave the same way.
Very much, yeah.
They blink on and off. They move quickly, then they disappear.
Right. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. And this case in particular is one of the. Not one of the better, probably the best UFO sighting that I think you and I have ever covered.
Yeah.
I mean, the photos were very clear. He reported it immediately. He had enough knowledge, like some other witnesses, like Daniel Wilson that we talked about earlier, had enough knowledge to pull out his phone, pull up a Sky Tracker app, and see if anything was in the area.
Right.
And that is awesome. That's the, other than reporting immediately, having the knowledge to make sure that what you're seeing is not something worldly like a plane or a satellite or God forbid, a weather balloon.
Right, the infamous weather balloon, yeah.
If it's nothing like that, then that's a great place to start. Confirm that what you're seeing is otherworldly.
Right. And I like that mindset of people using technology.
Sure.
To eliminate, process of elimination, what these things could be.
Right.
See if there's a logical explanation.
Totally.
Even asking Siri if there's airplanes in the area.
Yeah, completely. That's a smart move.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great using technology, because technology is your friend.
Till it's not anymore.
Right. So, I'm thinking these photos and this sign is significant, but also plays into the previous ones we discussed.
Totally.
And it seems like during this time frame, I guess during this summer months or going into
It
autumn,
seems
the late
June.
summer.
Yeah,
Since
June.
June,
Yeah.
the whole summer solstice here
Sure, yeah.
has been full of these.
Right around it, yeah.
I'm kind of wondering what this next season will bring us.
Sure.
If there will be more or there'll be less.
Sure. And it's odd that even James's sighting, James's experience happened in late summer.
Right.
And during my initial compilation of all these sightings for my notes on the show, I was wondering how we were going to work this sighting, the Somerset sighting, into the sighting on the Parkway and the sighting, pretty close to the Parkway. But then I realized not only is it within 10 days of the other sightings, or 10 to 15 days of the other sightings in the same month, but it occurs along the same stretch of road that the others are, and maybe not exactly on the same stretch of road, but the Cumberland Parkway connects every single one of these sightings.
Exactly. It's along the Cumberland Parkway corridor.
Right. It would be interesting to see where the Cumberland Parkway lays on the 37th.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
Yeah, because I think that would be very interesting. But we have one final case to talk about this evening, and Stephen actually did a lot of the legwork on this one through the Twitter, right?
Yeah.
He contacted you through Twitter. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to mention any names here, but it's on our Twitter page. The gentleman from Barron County is from the Mammoth Cave area.
Right.
He sent me a video that he shot of a UFO, and it's similar to what we've discussed tonight. It's a line sky. It appears to be maybe a star or something in the sky moving around that is prominent, and then it just fades away.
Unfortunately, with many of these videos, just like the Daniel Wilson one, which was a great photo, and this guy's video is pretty good. I made the joke on Facebook the other day. When will Apple realize the only thing that we want from an iPhone is the ability to take clear UFO photos? And I was definitely joking, but there's an aura of seriousness to that. Anytime you try and take a video or a photo of these objects on a phone, it just doesn't seem like you can. And even though this is a good video and you can see the object in this video, you can definitely tell that the technology inhibited his ability to capture the video of it.
Right. And that's something, the technology, even if you had the best camera equipment out there to date, it would still be difficult to capture these because of the distance these objects are. I mean, it would have to be, I don't know, hovering over someone's house in Pulaski County before you could get a good video of it.
Which maybe is the reason that, the Somerset witness got such good photos, because they were literally hovering over his house. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it would have to be close enough to get it. But this video, it looks like it was shot in Barron County. It's potentially a UFO. Which
what was
honestly,
the date on these? I know this is a little later than the initial sightings that we were discussing.
the date on this one looks like it come into us on September 18th.
Okay.
I want to say that it was probably that morning early, because it looks like it come in early that morning at 4:36 a.m.
So heck, it may have been just right then. It's still dark outside at 4:30.
It was due southeast, and this guy puts a lot of detail in here. It was in the Mammoth Cave area, about 750 feet above sea level, and then it appeared as a star and faded away. And he goes on and tells us that
So it almost sounds like the sighting that my neighbor had over the Cumberland Parkway. It looked like a star was moving and then suddenly blinked out.
Yeah, he went on to say it was orangish reddish, looked like a star, and it faded in minutes. And it looked like it was moving, but not really moving. There was no airports or any flights in that area.
And
Jet sounds
back to
come
that
from it.
reddish, orangish ball.
Right. He's one of the time here. He did say the time, and it was between 9 and 10 o'clock previous night.
Okay.
Yeah. So and it looks like it was on the ridges of Mammoth Cave National Park, about 5 miles out of Cave City.
Awesome. And, to bring this back into stuff that we have discussed in the past, Cave City was one of the first stops talked about in the Hellier documentary.
Yeah.
It was mentioned by a little girl there that there may be goblins in Mammoth Cave or in some of the caves around Cave City. So it's interesting that this light appears over Mammoth Cave.
Yeah, and Mammoth Cave seems to have a lot of interesting stories
Oh, yeah.
about it, and we'll do future episodes on things like that.
Honestly, we could almost do something like we did with the Kentucky Cryptids and do a profile episode just on Mammoth Cave.
Yeah, because there's all kinds of, just not even paranormal, but ancient history.
And crazy stories.
Stories
that, like you said, that may not necessarily be paranormal, but are so weird that we could definitely talk about them, and I think our audience would enjoy it.
It would put it in the high strangeness category.
Very much so. Very much so. But, it's kind of like I was talking about in my article this week for the Current. It seems like areas that have a high amount of these types of sightings also have things that are your everyday variety of weird. Like, abandoned towns, caves, odd natural things. Like, for instance, we have the, help me out here, Rockhouse Bottom here.
Right.
Mammoth Cave may itself be one of these natural formations that is imbued with this crazy, strange energy, and it definitely seems like it is. So, really, really interesting that popped up over Mammoth Cave.
Yeah. And that, again, like the Parkway, Cumberland Parkway, if we want to draw that into here, the Cumberland Parkway ends in Barron County. It's not really in the Mammoth Cave area, but it's in the vicinity.
Sure. Yeah. And I hadn't even really thought about that. Yeah. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so Barron County's probably about 40 miles west of our location here.
Sure.
So, it's still not in the same, it's still in, I guess, in the realm of nautical miles and aerial phenomena. Yeah. It's still in the same area.
As the crow flies. As the saucer flies.
Exactly.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and of course, speculating. Do you think that, and I mean, this is a big question, because, I mean, who knows what UFO waves even are, but do you think this sighting ties in with the flap that we had in June? Or do you think this is a separate incident?
Since it's in September, I think it could be a separate incident, because we haven't really had anybody say anything.
We haven't. It's been pretty quiet since that last one.
So maybe
to our knowledge, if anybody's listening that has, please let us know. But to our knowledge, it was pretty quiet between then and September.
Right. So, I mean, possibly, maybe there's more sightings over in that area. 'Cause that's something I would like to do is categorize these. And if there's a bunch of sightings in this area, these months or these weeks out of the year,
sure,
in this one area, and then it moves, maybe the phenomenon moves to another area.
Right.
And progresses in a certain direction. I think that would be something interesting to see if we pick up a pattern.
For sure. That would be a major boom to our research, I think.
Right. Because recognize patterns in things, I think we can learn its behavior.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Let's take a real quick break. We will be right back with our theories, ideas, and closing thoughts for this episode. The final track of the new Culture Trap EP is coming up next. The name of this one is City Don't Sleep. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be right back.
California's calling, New York's on MTV, and I just never could really see you and me. But when it comes to living, guess we don't all have it good. But if I could, and if I asked you, do you think you would? But it's all right now. Yeah, it's all right now. Just go to sleep. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I must have called 1,000,000 times, but you don't seem to pick up no more, or at least not tonight. But when it comes to wanting, it seems I'm always just out of reach. But maybe if I could quit this dreaming, I could get some sleep. But it's all right now. Yeah, it's all right now. Just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. And when you're waking, I'll be breaking with the morning sun. The dawn's first early light shines, finding me coming undone. Well, maybe if you'd speak, then I could find something in your voice, some peace of mind. Then maybe I'd sleep, but that's alright. I'll be fine. And I'll try to sleep. No sleep. The city don't sleep.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it deeply. Thank you guys for giving those new Culture Trap tracks a spin. I appreciate it. The band appreciates it. We're hoping to get a lot more local music on here. Because in addition to our love of the paranormal and our love of the supernatural, we want to support our artists in our community. And like I said, if you guys got any music that you would like to contribute to the show, we would love to hear it. Let's talk about our ideas, our theories on these. Closing thoughts. What's your overall thoughts on the June sightings and on that final Mammoth Cave sighting?
I think the June sightings are very possibly the same craft or same phenomena that's in the sky in this area, because they all look similar with the exception of the last one in Somerset, but the last one in Somerset was definitely more closer to the ground than the other sightings were. Right. The one in Mammoth Cave looks similar. It's the same type of craft, but it's later in the year.
Very true.
By several weeks, it's in a different location. It's more west of these other sightings.
Yeah.
But definitely interested, and I believe they're all from maybe not the same source, but a similar source.
Very true.
What about you? What's your thoughts?
Ultimately, and this may be a cop-out, but ultimately I know people are seeing something. I know people are seeing something around the Cumberland Parkway. There is a lot of high strangeness associated with this case and a lot of coincidences and synchronicities about this particular UFO flap. It does seem like that orange-red fireball, or fireballs of some type, keep showing up. Mm-hmm. That's something that's gone back in Kentucky history, and not just Kentucky history, but I believe I heard one researcher say that red-orange fireballs are the most commonly reported UFO in history. So it's not just Kentucky history that these red-orange fireballs go back to, it's ufology history in general. And of course not all these were red-orange fireballs, but like you said, they behaved very similarly. They were in the same area around the same time. To get back to a tagline that we had for a long time, it's still our tagline, how many coincidences are too many? Happen at the same time, very similar craft, pretty much identical location. There was something in the skies over Kentucky in June of 2019, and it looks like there continues to be right now. What they are, what it is, I don't know. But I think they've been there for a long time before this wave. And I think that they will be here for a long time after this wave. And I'm not sure if they picked up in velocity or in June of 2019, or if people just noticed them better. You know, if there were just more people that happened to notice them while they were up there. In closing, though, you know, I don't know. I don't know what they are, and I don't know why they're there. But it does seem to connect with many, many, many other stories that we have seen happen in Kentucky, that we've talked about, that we've read about, that me and you have talked about personally. Seems like it's an ongoing thing. Doesn't seem like it's going to be stopping anytime soon. Doesn't seem like it had, you know, that this was the start of it. It seems like June of 2019 was somewhere in the middle of the visitation of whatever these things are. So I think that's about going to wrap it up for the episode tonight. Please, please get with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Overcast, iTunes, and hit them with some new ones. What new ones we got out there?
Yeah, we got Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. Looks like we're up on Podcast Addict right now. Castbox, Beyond Pod, Chartable. Of course, you can always catch us on Midnight Kentucky. You can stream it. You can go to Spreaker.com. You know, any type of podcast app that's out there.
Wherever you listen to your podcasts, wherever fine podcasts are served, Midnight in Kentucky will be there. Leave us ratings and reviews on iTunes. Leave us ratings and reviews wherever there's a box that says ratings or reviews. Please, please leave those. Those help us out so much. They get us to a bigger audience. They boost our podcast. And hell, they just make us feel good. So do that, please. That helps a ton. Check out the Lake Cumberland Current if you're in the Russell County area for the Keep Kentucky Weird article that I wrote for the debut issue. The second part of that article may be out by the time that you guys are hearing this. If not, it's coming. Check that one out too. And hey, come back, keep watching the skies. For Midnight in Kentucky, I'm Ben.
I'm Steven.
Till the next moon rises, not else. Good night.
You've been listening to Midnight in Kentucky,
A Ransom Letter Publishing podcast.
Join us on Twitter and Facebook.
Or get in contact with your questions, comments, or stories of high strangeness
at midnightinkentuckypodcast@gmail.com.